Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about Provenance, which is a brand new multi-system emulator on iOS. There is free and paid versions of this, or it's just one emulator with a paid tier. And a lot of people have been looking at that and seeing the paid tier and getting upset about it. But at the same time, the paid tier doesn't really offer a whole lot extra. So here's a screenshot of the paid options. There's 5 overall, and I would say that there's not really anything in here that's earth-shattering. They've got disable auto lock, metal render, the ability to turn it off. I don't know why you'd want to turn it off, but it's there. Use UI kit, movable buttons. Some people like to configure touchpads, and I guess if you wanted to configure it, you have to do it within the paid options. And WebDAV always on. Now the pricing is as follows. Provenance is free if you don't want those options, but if you do want them, it's $3.99 a month or $99.99 for a lifetime license or $39.99 per year. To be honest with you, I think the free version is probably good enough for most people. And if you don't want to pay for anything and want even more options, you can always use RetroArch. And taking a look at the systems, and there are quite a few here. Now, in terms of Sony, there's just PlayStation and PSP, no PS2, not surprised. And in terms of Nintendo, there is the 3DS, there is no Switch. Again, not surprised. Let me know your thoughts about Provenance in the comments below and how it stacks up against something like Delta or even RetroArch. I'm curious about this one. I don't have an Apple device to actually test it out, but I'm curious to hear what you think about it. Next up, we're talking about NVIDIA. Now, CES is in full swing, and NVIDIA has just officially unveiled the 5070, 5080, and 5090, and also 5070 Ti. In terms of performance, in terms of pricing, there were some surprises here. So right off the bat, let's look at the pricing, and there were some surprises here. So first and foremost, yes, the 5090 is going to be expensive. The base price on this is $19.99, but then whenever people start manufacturing this thing and selling it, I'm assuming the price will creep up well over $19.99. But the big surprise here was the price of the 5070 at $549. And there has been some speculation out there that the reason that this price is a lot lower than anticipated was because of the Intel B580 and B570 pricing. And as for the second surprise here, to me, this one is very exciting. They're stating that the RTX 5070 is going to be as fast as the RTX 4090. I'll believe it when I see it, but at the same time, that is a very tall claim and something to be excited about if it is true. If these numbers match up to real-world numbers, that would be amazing for the 5070. They're stating that the 5080 is going to be doubly as fast as the 4090. This is a very powerful series of cards, and I'm wondering if the real-world numbers are this good. I'm assuming here, maybe not wondering, I'm assuming that the RTX 5070, based on the price and performance, is going to be a very popular card. And speaking about impressive, next up we're talking about a Super Mario 64 ROM hack that's getting a lot of attention. And that is Return to Yoshi's Island. The developer behind this one just released a big update for the demo. Now, it is worth pointing out that this demo is not necessarily perfect. It is a work in progress. It's not the full game, and a lot of people are looking forward to the full release of this thing. So the developer has just posted this one over on romhacking.com and does recommend using Ares with it. And on a side note here, it appears the developer is looking for feedback. They say if you decide to play this demo, please fill out the survey to let me know what you thought about the new controls and camera. And speaking about things people are looking forward to, next up we're talking about Tokyo Xtreme Racer. We've now got a launch date for early access for this game, which is going to be January 23rd or January 22nd, I guess, according to Steam. And speaking about things people are looking forward to, next up we're talking about Tokyo Xtreme Racer. This arcade racer has finally got an early access release date, which will be January 23rd of this year, so just in a couple of weeks. For some reason on my Steam, it does say January 22nd, but at the same time here, this is pretty exciting for people who are looking for what seems to be a very good arcade racer. I'm hoping it's going to be good here. I've got high hopes for this one, but who knows in this day and age. Now, based on what I currently see on Steam, unfortunately, I don't know the price of this game just yet, but it doesn't appear to have de nouveau or anything like that on it. And scrolling down here to take a look at the system requirements, and I wouldn't say they're necessarily low, but they don't seem overly crazy either. I mean, a GTX 1050 is what they're asking for. And speaking about things people are looking forward to, next up we're talking about the exact opposite. If you're a fan of WWE 2K23, you're not going to be a fan of this news. The online servers have shut down. The game is still playable, offline only. If you wanted to play this game online anymore, you are completely out of luck as the servers aren't working. And this is a trend we've seen in a lot of games. Fortunately here, the game itself is not completely ruined because it does have that offline mode. But at the same time here, to me, that seems pretty early. I mean, 2K23 and we're just into 2025. Mind you, if you take a look on Steam here, the game isn't even available to be purchased. And the release date on this one was March 17th, 2023. So it's technically not even 2 years old yet. This to me is a very short lifespan. Now, if this is a continuing trend for WWE 2K games, I would say here possibly wait for 2K24 and just pick up 2K25. I mean, 2K24 is on sale right now for 60% off, but the game was released in March of 2024, which is kind of halfway through its life cycle, maybe even more than that. So you may want to wait for 2K25, which hasn't even been released yet. Next up is a quick follow-up, or rather continuation of a couple of things we've been previously talking about. So in previous videos, we talked about the differences between indie games and AAA games, and also the meaning of the AAA term. And we've talked about increasing game costs. For example, Naughty Dog justifying their sale to Sony due to hugely increasing game costs. Well, it turns out games nowadays, at least AAA games, or I guess if you want to call them quadruple A games, well, they're very expensive to make. Call of Duty's massive development budgets revealed a $700 million budget for Black Ops Cold War. So according to this article, and like everything I talk about, link will be in the description below at the bottom, Black Ops 3 from 2015 had over $450 million in development costs. I don't even know if that includes marketing costs and all of that stuff. It sold 43 million copies. Modern Warfare from 2019 had over $640 million in development costs and had 41 million copies sold. And then Black Ops Cold War from 2020, over $700 million in development costs and sold 30 million copies. It seems that Black Ops 3 was the best investment, but at the same time here, it shows the increasing prices in games. I mean, in a 5-year span, they spent, $250 million more. Now, on one hand, I want to say this is way too much to be spending on a game. This seems super inflated, but on the other hand here, if they sold 30 million copies, I mean, their profits are probably in the billions, which is, well, that's really, really good. So I don't know here. I mean, it doesn't take $700 million to make a great game. I mean, if you take a look at something like Balatro, that did not cost anywhere near $700 million. Now, there are huge differences between games like Balatro and Vampire Survivors and Call of Duty. And are you wondering if I just compared Balatro and Vampire Survivors to Call of Duty? I absolutely did. Are they the same genre? No. Do they have the same budget? Absolutely not. Not even close. Do they cost the same? No, not even close either. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean money equals good game. And I think we've seen that time and time again. Now, I'm not saying Call of Duty is a bad game, but at the same time, $700 million. I would expect even more out of a game. Not gonna lie here, I am very curious to hear what you have to say about this and what your thoughts are about Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War costing over $700 million to develop. I really don't even think that's including marketing costs. So just overall, just development. It didn't say production costs, it's just development. That to me is, well, that's a whole lot for what you get in return. Is Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War bad? No, I don't think so at all. But at the same time here, is it over $700 million good? I'm very curious to hear your opinions on that. And speaking about big budget stuff, next up we're talking about Tencent. And well, this is some very interesting news. It turns out that the US has designated Tencent and CATL as Chinese military companies. I wish I was joking with you. Now, I don't think I need to say this one, but Tencent is huge in the gaming industry. I mean, do you like League of Legends? If you do, well, I guess you don't anymore. Tencent owns Riot Games. Anyways, here, Tencent has their hands in a whole bunch of different companies, and probably a lot more than you were thinking. And now for the big question, what does this mean? And my answer is, I don't know. I'm not a U.S. citizen here. I'm from Canada, so I don't really have any knowledge into the U.S. government and how things work. But it does say here that it's not going to impact anything. So they say, unlike sanctions or export controls, this listing has no impact on our business. but they say we will nonetheless work with the Department of Defense to address any misunderstanding. And that's from CATL, not Tencent, but I'm assuming that it's probably going to be the exact same for Tencent. Tencent says they are not a military company or supplier. I wish I had more detail. I tried to look into it, but I couldn't get a clear picture as to what exactly it means and what it could entail for a video game company and video game sales. I've been talking a lot with my hands. I've been trying to get better with that and talk less with them, and I've been failing miserably. I'm just going to keep them under the camera here. Anyways, I'm hoping that, I guess, if Tencent is not a military company, they get off the list. It seems they don't want to be on the list, and I could understand that, but we'll have to wait and see. But moving on from that, and next up here, we're talking about NVIDIA again. If you're a fan of cloud streaming, if you're a fan of GeForce Now, NVIDIA just had a major announcement. So they say right here, announced today at the CES trade show, gamers will soon be able to play their titles from their Steam library at GeForce RTX quality, with the launch of a native GeForce Now app for the Steam Deck. NVIDIA is working to bring cloud gaming to the popular PC gaming handheld device later this year. Now, NVIDIA just didn't stop at the Steam Deck. It's also headed to the Apple Vision Pro, MetaQuest 3 and 3S, and Pico. And on top of that, they're launching the first GeForce RTX powered data center in India, making gaming more accessible around the world. Now, although I'm personally not the biggest fan of cloud gaming, at the same time here, more options for more people is generally a good thing. Let me know how you feel about NVIDIA GeForce Now on the Steam Deck, and I guess on those other devices in the comments below. Next up is a quick heads up about a couple of movies that have just been announced. And normally we don't talk about movies on this channel, but at the same time, these are two new movies based on two big video games. It appears there's going to be movies for both Helldivers and Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, unfortunately, we don't know a whole lot about this one just yet. We don't know casting, we don't know release dates, we don't really know anything just yet. I'm wondering here if these are going to hold up, if they're going to be good, and also who is going to play the main cast. And last up here, we're talking about a very interesting Linux distribution, and that is Nobara. Nobara is based on Fedora Linux, and it's basically Fedora that has been tweaked and modified to be more geared towards gamers and content creators. So the main person behind Nobara is Glorious Eggroll, who you may know from Proton GE, where GE stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Glorious Eggroll. Anyways, here, Glorious Eggroll has released Nobara version 41. Now, it's based on Fedora 41. It's got a whole bunch of tweaks and updates here. They've included the open NVIDIA driver by default. They say if your GPU is older than Turing, but still supported by the closed driver, you'll need to make manual changes. Anyways, here, this one has been updated in a whole bunch of different ways. There are bug fixes and improvements and even more. And I think I'm going to be switching to this Linux distribution just to try it out. Now, you probably don't care about this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I distro hop quite a bit in Linux, and I do it just to learn more about different distributions, see what's new and exciting, see what works, what doesn't, and what I like. And I was very excited about Fedora 41 and even more excited about Nobara 41. So I'll be checking this one out, probably use it as my main distribution for the next few months and learn more about this one. I'm very excited about this one. I'm hoping it's going to be a good experience. But at the same time here, if it's not, I'll just hop back onto Endeavour OS or Pop OS or Linux Mint. I mean, there's a lot of great distributions out there. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and the legendary One Fluff, who definitely pooped on the floor today. Anyways, we talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.